welcome to the Tarnit's YouTube channel. Today we have another podcast, and I actually have so many updates. I have been busy and working away and getting things done, so there is so much to talk about. First, let's address the elephant in the room. I am wearing an absolutely beautiful sweater, if I do say so myself. This is the Sadie sweater by Ozetta. I knit it using Noro Silk Garden Sock Solo in the colorway TW82. Oh my, I can't believe I remember that. I also held it with a strand of Folcolana Alva in like their off-white color, which created this like really cute marling effect. I talk a lot more about like the yarns and just some more details in my like previous podcast where I was almost done this project, so I don't want to be too repetitive, but it is done and blocked and beautiful. And I think the main pieces that I want to talk about this are, first, like, the fit is absolutely amazing. I love how, like, and I don't want to stand up, so I'm not going to stand up, but it's like, if I raise my hand, you can see that it's quite a relaxed fit. It is a little bit, like, there is space to it, but it's not, like, massively oversized. Sometimes if I wear clothes that are a little too oversized, I find that it stops looking casual and can start looking sloppy really quickly. So I find that this like fit is just absolutely perfect. It has like, I think 10 to 15 centimeters of positive knees off the top of my head, just like on my body. And that's just absolute perfection. It's just like a classic drop shoulder, but the drop is not too low. Like, this is where my armpit is. This is where the shoulder, I guess, or the arm is. It has really nice like basic details, just like the rolled edges. I was actually worried that the bottom would roll up, like the bottom hem would roll up too much, but I think because the Noro is a little bit rustic, it actually, like, it rolls a little bit, of course, for the effect, but it does for the most part stay in place. So I'm very pleased about that. I think the measurements are pretty much exact to what was in the schematic. I know, so I have a friend who's tested for Ozetta quite a few times. Sometimes, like, she finds it challenging to meet Haley's gauge, just because I think Haley might be a little looser of a knitter, if I'm not mistaken. I think maybe because I combined, like, yarns that you may not necessarily combine, like, a sport weight yarn with a lace weight, but it's not like a mohair kind of lace weight, that I was able to actually get pretty bang on to the gauge. I was a little bit worried at one point, because I thought when I was doing the panels, like the front and back panels, that I thought my length, like my row gauge, was a little bit off, but I think with blocking and everything, it actually ended up being perfect. And I think it was just maybe the way I was pulling the fabric. Gauge can be a little bit hard to figure out sometimes, just because of how you hold your fabric, you might get a different gauge. So I think I was just like not doing it properly, but I actually hit like gauge perfectly. I love the sweater. I love the fabric. I love the fit, and I do anticipate knitting more of these sweaters. Even if I actually really love just like the sleeves, doing the roll cuffs, I feel like that's something I'm just going to do, period. I don't really love ribbing. So this is something I might just use in a lot more of my projects. But I do think if I wanted this nice fit, but I wanted to do like a turtleneck, or I wanted to do like more of a blouse, or if I wanted to do, I don't know, like a crew neck, I could change up the finishings and still get this really nice fit. And that's something I'm very excited to experiment with in the future, kind of like use this pattern as a base and then add my own details and finishings as needed. So that's how I feel about the actual project. The pattern, as always, by Ozetta is very lovely. I think I'm just really impressed by how well graded it is. In my own experience, I try to knit or like grade a really boxy, oversized sweater. You have a lot more margin or like wiggle room to make error, and it's not really gonna be an issue because it'll still be oversized, versus if you're trying to do something that has like an intentionally like relaxed fit, or if you have something that is supposed to be more fitted. There are more stakes, I guess. So all to say is, love the pattern, love the grading. The actual instructions are very simple and like really easy to follow. I would say if you've, honestly, I think this is actually a really good like first sweater. It does use German short rows both on the back panel as well as the like arms. So maybe not like a first sweater, but if you are comfortable with German short rows, I would actually really recommend diving into it, because you don't have to worry about Italian bind off and like things like that. So I guess it really just depends on like personal preference, but very easy to follow. Literally, I don't think it is a very simple pattern in general. And I typically just recommend Ozetta as a designer. Every pattern that I've knit or like even skimmed through has always been really good. Something that I love about her patterns is that she always includes schematics, and I really do think this should become a standard in a lot of patterns like petite knit. I would love for her to have these schematics as well, but I find it just super helpful, because if your gauge is off even by like a little bit, you have the ability to troubleshoot and figure things out. So that's the first thing. The second piece is something that I'm really excited about. This is my longest standing whip ever. It's just shy of 2 years old. This whip is almost a toddler. This is the Classic by, Espace Chico. Maybe I'll wear it on top of my, this by no means is like fitting the best right now, because I'm wearing a sweater on top of a sweater. I was too lazy to like properly change, and it just looks super bulky. But this is the Classic by Espace Chico. The Classic is actually like a turtleneck, but I modified this just to be a basic crew neck. I actually do think it's stretched out a little bit in blocking in the wash. The sleeves are gigantic and have stretched out too, but they're very cozy. In addition to modifying the neck, I also modified the sleeves. I just did a folded over like finishings on the sleeve, and then on the body, these are all things I did out of laziness just to finish the project, I'll be very honest. On the body, I did the ribbing, and then I just did like a normal cast off, because I just wanted this to be done. This uses Patton's Canadiana in the colorway medium green tea, and it looks very different in different lightings. Like I think here it's looking kind of green, like a greeny gray, like a sagey, but I think it's a lot more yellow IRL. And I have decided that I'll be gifting this sweater to my cousin. Yeah, it's a sweater that I've been taking around for a long time, like when I go to like parks or people's houses and like cafes and stuff like that. So that's, I think, the primary reason why it's been taking so long, because I just don't get as much knitting time on it compared to like knitting on a project at home. And then also at one point it got so big that I hated taking it around, so I just like left it in a corner and then was knitting on other projects that I would take around. So this had been very severely neglected, but all good. She's good now. She's like a very classic like raglan. I actually really love the placement of the raglan for the Classic, and I do see myself knitting another one, just maybe this time not in acrylic. This acrylic, like I think like when I was thinking about it before, I was like, oh, it's like such a like I don't like this acrylic, but after I've washed it, it's actually quite smooth, and I do like it. It's soft, and I think like if I hadn't learned the luxuries of merino, and I was just knitting with like normal wools like an alpaca, like I wouldn't hate acrylic. I still don't hate it, but I think I just have so many sweaters that I've already finished, so many things that I have on the go, so many patterns that I want to knit, so much yarn that I have to knit with, that like I just know that this is not going to get much wear. And I am actually liking how it looks in camera right now. Like I do think it suits me, but I don't necessarily want to wear the sweater multiple times and keep washing it and then gift it away. I'd rather just gift it now. So that's where we're at. I actually am really proud because as I'm looking at this on camera, I think I look so cute, and I'm just really happy because I think this is a very well crafted, if I do say so myself, a well crafted garment. I put so much effort into it and so much time, so whoever receives it, I hope that they do enjoy it and get wear out of it. So that's that. Next piece, this wasn't even a whip in my last podcast episode. I've yet to block it. I don't know why I'm so dramatic. I'm so sorry. This wasn't even a whip in my last video, but it's a finished object in this one. Hi. Isn't it so cute? Like, are you kidding me? This is the Typical Friday top by Typical Bliss. It is essentially just like a very standard tank top. I don't know what it's called. I guess a square neck tank top. It has folded over edges, like the band. The edges are folded over, like that's what the band. The bottom hem is also folded over. Beautiful. And it's using very special yarn. It's yarn that I hand dyed myself at a workshop with Good Grief at Noble Space. There we go. I actually went to the session with my friend Cindy of Sin Knits, and we both dyed yarn. Definitely check out her video. She actually has a vlog kind of going through the experience. And I'm actually really proud of like my dye job on this, because like I didn't alternate skeins at all, and I used two different skeins. I didn't use full skeins, but I did have to dip in, I think, like somewhere here, and I don't think you can even tell. Like it's so even. I'm so proud of myself. I think I'm killing it. And maybe I want to dye more yarn. It has definitely unlocked a new passion for me. The reason I wanted to knit this pattern, I just love the silhouette, and it is like more of a high coverage kind of tank top. I've really been into wearing just like a really oversized button down over just like a t-shirt, and I think in the summers I would love to be able to still wear some of my hand knits, and I think the way to go is wearing a more high coverage tank top and then like the button down over it as my summer uniform. So this was a very quick, I was surprised how quickly this knit up. So I knit this in about 15 days, which is, you know, just about 2 weeks. And that's not necessarily the fastest that you can knit a project, you know, like it's a tiny little tank top. That is fast, but there, you know, I know a lot of people can knit like faster. But what I will say is that I was also knitting, I knit another project that I'm going to talk about, like not all of it, but I was knitting other things within that 15 days. I would say about like half that time, almost, maybe like a good 6 days of those 15 days I was knitting on something else. So I knit this in about a bit more than a week or so. So that is really, really exciting for me, because I've never considered the fact that I could be able to knit a garment in like start and knit a garment within the same month. And I think when it comes to the tank tops, they always seem like they're gonna take forever to do because they're on smaller needles. But this was so quick. So that makes me really optimistic that I think in the summer I can knit more, and I think this is going to be a very like staple piece to knit as a result of that. Something also fun is that I casted this on as like a little birthday treat for myself. I was like, as you know, I've been very much trying to finish up my whips, but I told myself if I start and I finish it within just like a little bit of time, it doesn't really count. And I waited until I think I got down to, oh, I didn't cast this on until I finished that other sweater I just showed you, the classic. I told myself I can have up to 5 whips at any given time. So when I was able to finish that other sweater and I went down to I think 4, I immediately casted this on, and you know, it just became my 5th, and then I finished it, and then I cast something else on. I told myself you know, even though I'm on this journey to be like whipless by the end of the year, with the asterisk that I could have 1 active whip going on, despite that, I have decided that I had decided that I'm allowed to, you know, as long as I keep things at this point in time in the year, as long as I have only like max 5 whips at any given time, it's okay if I cast something on, as long as I cast it off within like a very short amount of time, like a week or so. So that's why, you know, I'm down to, if you watch my fall knitting plans, that's why I think I'm really open to knitting like hats and like gloves and socks, as long as I finish them very quickly within the year and like continue to be working on my other projects. So as a result, I did cast this on, and I casted it off very quickly, and I just think I deserved a little treat for my birthday. I casted it on my birthday as like a little treat to myself. I think I literally just like casted it on, like I think I knit like 1 row because I was so sleepy by the end of the day. But it's just like, yeah, it's just nice. It's like a nice little memory. And I think the color is just, the yarn that I used was so special. So it's just, I'm really happy about this. I haven't worn it out yet. I might wear it out today actually, but you know what? That's right. I will wear this out today, but yeah, I'm just really excited to have it. So I actually have 2 more finished objects, but unfortunately neither of them I have with me. They are both gift knits. So the first one was the pair of socks that I was talking about. They have been completed and gifted to my aunt. I will, if I have a photo of them, I'll post them. I'll put it up, but honestly I really just wanted to get this one done. I don't think I even took any cute photos of it, so that is gone and off across the seas. And then the other one that I finished was my turtle dove shawl. Yay! I mean, I don't think that's a surprise when I was like literally maybe like 4 rounds away from finishing it in my last video, for rows, like literally like the final rows. So that has been completed and gifted to my friend. I did take some, honestly, like, not to gas myself up, but I think I took some really stellar photos of my turtle dove shawl, so I'll like put them up here. But I honestly am so proud of myself for finishing this project. I think it's just so interesting, all the different mindset shifts I had going in and out with it. Like initially I was like, oh no, I'm not gonna like be able to even finish it this year, and then suddenly like when I got a hang of the pattern, I just like flew through it, and it just makes me so happy that like I was able to extend my skills so much, and now I'm so much more comfortable with cables. And speaking of that, it's because I was able to finish my turtle dove shawl that I felt inspired and rejuvenated and like motivated to actually work on my twist loop sweater. So I will show that now. So I have made the decision to continue working on my twist loop sweater. This is how far I've gotten. Before, when I showed it last, I was like, I think 6 or so rows or rounds before splitting for sleeves. So I have now split the body and I'm now working on the body. I am, if you can see there, just starting my second cable. There are going to be 3 of these cable repeats, so I didn't finish a significant amount of rounds, but it grows very quickly because I forgot it's on 5mm needles. I think I've just gotten so much more used to knitting on smaller needles that I sometimes forget how quick 5mm needles actually goes by. And I think now that I've gotten a hang of the pattern, and I think I was talking about that in my last video as well, but now that I've gotten a hang of it, it's like low-key flying by. So I am actually feeling really confident about finishing it. I think I spent a day getting from where I was before to where I am now, so that's like quite a lot of progress for just a day's work. So I think like how many, oh my gosh, why am I struggling? That's not perfect, but I knit like that much. What is that much? What is that much? I don't know. I actually feel like I could finish it, and that's really exciting. I think all of my opinions kind of stay the same on the pattern, where I think in the past I really did talk a lot of smack about the actual pattern writing. And I still don't think it's the best pattern ever. I don't think it has like the best UX experience, like the user experience. I also think like something basic that I would expect, having done more charts and more complicated-ish patterns, is that I would expect either to chart the increases or describe what is going on every round in a written format. It'll basically have instructions on how to do the increases, and then it'll say, for this row, follow the chart, or like follow the chart between this section. But it's like, I would have preferred to just either have the chart and have the increases charted, or describe that, hey, this is going to be a cable round, you're going to be doing X, whatever, right? So maybe that's too much to ask. I don't think having the increases charted is too much to ask. It's just not well explained, and I don't think it's the worst pattern in the world by any means. I feel like it's still, I can still do it, right? You can still do it. Yeah, I think all I'm trying to say is this is definitely not a beginner friendly pattern. I think sometimes people are like, oh, look, there's this very little cabling, this is a good first cable sweater. I don't think it's a good first cable sweater, just because I don't think, if these are some newer concepts to you, it's just going to be a little hard to understand. I honestly think doing something from Sari Nordland is probably a good, I think the Colette sweater is probably going to be a good first cable sweater if you were to do it, just because I trust Sari's pattern writing. In terms of the yarn combination, I'm holding Briggs and Little Heather. I'm holding it double. I'm using the colorway Evergreen, and it is just delicious and beautiful and gorgeous. As I was knitting on it, I can't help but notice the spinning oils on my hand, and it just feels a little, just feel like it's not the most, like, it's not awful. Like, I still enjoy knitting on it. I do enjoy knitting on it, period. But it is like, it is noticeable. And like, when you notice something, sometimes it's hard to unnotice it. And maybe I just didn't notice it before. But overall, I am feeling very optimistic about it. And I can't wait to update y'all next month or next whenever. Second really, really exciting whip update is my Jenny jacket. I don't know if you remember, but I think in the last video I said my goal was to finish one of the sleeves, and maybe if I, go ham, I might finish 2. So, I finished both sleeves. Oh my god, why do they look so uneven? But I've basically finished the 2 sleeves of the Jenny jacket, and like, oh my god, just like, look how beautiful that is. The increase, oh, maybe not that part. The increases, I got a little wonky for me at one point. The thing about the Jenny jacket is it literally says line by line what you're supposed to do, and that was really helpful for a little bit. And then I'm like, I'm just like, I understand what I'm doing, so I'm just gonna like, go rogue and continue. But then as a result, I kind of missed doing some of the increases. So not increases. I missed doing some of the smocks. So let me find an example of this. But you see that this is like quite a long section without a smock. I should have smocked here, but I got confused because of the increases, and I think there was just an increase right there, and I didn't realize like it would make sense to smock there, so I didn't. And by the time I noticed, I'm like, I'm not gonna go back. I don't care that much. So my solution is going to be, I'm just going to take some scrap yarn that I have of this color, and I'm just literally going to use a needle, do the smock, like go around it, and then just like tie a knot in the back on the wrong side. And who's gonna know? Nobody's gonna know. How would they know? I did knit this a little bit longer than recommended. The sleeve hits in a good spot. It's a little fitted. Like, if you saw that, like, it's not that it's tight, there's space there. But I think just because of the pattern and the ribbing, it just is cinching in a little bit. So what I did was I made it ever so slightly longer than I thought I needed. And then when I block it, I'll stretch it out. So even if it doesn't like loosen up on its own, that will enable it to kind of relax. And then if I'm stretching it out wider, it might get a little bit shorter. So it gives me that like wiggle room. Something I did notice though about this project is like my gauge is so off. I don't know, maybe it's because I'm just like looking at my pre-block gauge, and that's why I'm getting stressed out. I'm a little bit stressed, and I think that's like a big deal for something that is bottom up. I should have been more diligent, probably kept my swatch and all that good stuff, but I didn't. And I think like that's a pretty silly mistake to make for something that is bottom up, doesn't have schematics, like there's a lot of guesswork going on. So I think right now I'm just a little bit worried that the yoke depth is not going to be long enough because my row gauge is off. Usually I never consider this to be a problem, because no matter what I've knit ever in my life, my row gauge is never tighter. Like, it's never smaller. It's either on gauge or it's like looser, if that makes sense. So I've never been worried about like it not fitting. I've only ever been like, oh, is it going to be too big? So this is a new experience that we will work through together, but I kind of just did a recalculation. So I counted how many stitches I have for the rows, and I basically calculated based on the instructions for the yoke combination what I would have to what is the yoke depth. But with the way the yoke is constructed, there's obviously decreases going on at various rates, and then smocking at various rates. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to increase or decrease the rate of increases. So like, for example, these are made up numbers. If I was increasing every like 10 rows, I would now be increasing every 12 rows. So that gives me that extra length before the next increase so that I can get the correct slope. It really just feels like I'm using like grade 10 math to figure this out, and I'm kind of here for it because I am a math girl. What I should do honestly is I should block once I'm done the sleeves. I just want to lengthen the body panel a little bit more, or the body. So I think I should just block all of these items, but I have a long list of things to block, so we'll see. I really should. This should be the first thing I block because of how finicky it is, but we'll see how it goes. We'll see how risky I'm trying to be. How many whips is that? That's 2 whips. My third whip, it's my Friday slipover v-neck by Petite Knit. I don't have a photo because I'm still taking it out and about and it's so dirty. But I am right now binding off the body. So I literally, all I have left to do is just the collar, like the neckband, whatever. Then I wash it, like a deep clean wash it. And then I sew down the finishings because I'm doing folded over edges. So I am so close to being done, and it's just a matter of like finding time to knit it. So we're almost there. It's gonna be very, very soon that we're done. I have 2 more whips to talk about. My next whip is my 1031 sweater. Transparently, I have not touched it since we last talked about it, so I just wanted to mention it for the sake of mentioning it, but no progress has been made. That gets us to 4 whips. Can you imagine that in my last video, I had 9 whips? In May, I had 11 whips. It is now the end of August, and I'm down to 5 whips. The 5th one I'm going to talk about. But I am like so beyond proud of myself. I feel like this was almost like so extra for me to be talking about, but it's like it's just a reminder that you can do hard things. I feel like I was quite overwhelmed with how many whips I had, and I just thought, like, I'm never gonna get these done, like I'm never gonna get to work on new projects, I'm just gonna be slaving away on these whips forever. But I think I made a plan, I stuck to that plan, I made reasonable goals, I gave myself reasonable leeway, like letting myself cast on certain items, and I really think I'm in a good position now. The goal is still to finish the year whipless or with just 1 whip, and I really do think I can get there. And I don't know, I'm just so excited for what that means, because the reason that's so important is because I want to have freedom. I have been a slave to these whips the past several months because I feel so much guilt at the idea of knitting something new or like adding something to my list that I have just not been. I've just been working away at these whips, and I am so close to having like complete freedom to cast on whatever I want whenever I want it. And like that, just, if that doesn't sound amazing, I don't know what does. Anyways, tangent aside, let's talk about my last whip that I have on the needles. And this is another new cast on. For a very short period of time, I was at 4 whips. And I told everybody I knew, hey, guess what? I now only have 4 whips. I went from 11 whips to 4 whips in just 3 months. I'm amazing. And literally like 3 hours later, casted on something new because I deserved it. Okay, I really did. So I talk about this in my fall knitting plans. I believe that has already been posted at the time of this being watched. But I am using some merino, and this is my first time. Actually, I'm going all over, but let's finish a thought first. Okay, let's finish a thought first before I jump to the next one. But I am using 100% merino grown from Copenhagen, which is something I purchased on my trip back in May. It is 100% merino, and it is, and a superwash, and it is sport weight, so 175 meters for 50 grams. Really loving it. This is my second, this is my full first sweater, but it's my second Scandi yarn that I'm using. The first one was for this sweater, the Folklana Alva, but I didn't quite count it because it was like something you're holding with. It's not like the main yarn. So this is gonna be my first full Scandi yarn garment, and it is the Maggie cardigan, which is also an item on my fall knitting plans list. I don't know if it's even makes sense to try to show this off at all because A, it's black, so it's a complete void, and B, it's scrunched up on these needles, so like I don't know if anyone can see anything. I'll try my best. But the Maggie cardigan is a contiguous set-in sleeve. Maybe if I can show this. I think that gives you a good idea. So you first do like a really small little back panel. You pick up for the shoulder and create like kind of a saddle almost. And then you pick up from the back panel the shoulder, like that shoulder saddle that you did. And then you essentially create a raglan situation to grow the sleeves and the body. So I am almost done. Ooh, this is like impossible to show, and it looks like it's for a child, but I'm just gonna put that aside for now. I'm almost done the yoke. I'm 6 rows away from finishing the yoke, for context. I think that's pretty good given the fact that I started this on August 25th, and I honestly had a very chill knitting week. It was honestly a very social week, so I haven't really been knitting in general. I did size up as well, just to be safe, because it is like a lower gauge item, so I'm okay if I size up and it be more oversized. I'm also okay if my gauge is slightly off, and that takes it back to the original size it's supposed to be. But also this is using superwash merino, so even if it's a little bit smaller, it will stretch. So it's like a lot of guesswork going on here, as I seem to do all the time. But I'm okay with it, and I think even if it doesn't end up fitting perfectly, I think it'll be fine because it's going by pretty quickly. I think it's beautiful. It's such a pleasure to knit. I'm just honestly like, every time I knit with merino, I'm like, that's the one. That's the girl. That's my girl, you know? So I do like knitting with other things. I do like knitting with the rustic yarn every so often, but I always go back to that merino, and I'm like, well, that's the good stuff. That's kind of all for today. If you enjoyed, what I talked about, or if you want to hear more like frequent updates on what's going on, feel free to follow me on my Instagram at tar.knits. I do quite more frequent updates there. Otherwise, please do hit the subscribe button because there is so much more to come. Thanks and have a wonderful day.